Well, hello everybody. I'm Adam Broadway here with Michelle Dale. Welcome, Michelle. Great to have you on board.
Thank you very much, Adam. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem at all. And you're virtualmissfriday.com.
Yeah, well, the company is Virtual Miss Friday. It started off with just me, and I guess I am Virtual Miss Friday.
Well, before we get into a little bit about what you do with Virtual Miss Friday and what that business is all about, I'd love for the partner network to get to know a little bit about you. So tell us, how did you get started in your life's journey to be where you are today?
Well, it was kind of sort of a night and day situation. My life up until the point where I started my business was fairly mundane, I suppose. I had a 9-to-5 job. I did my commute. I had a house. I basically had a very kind of boring, mundane day-to-day life. And at one point, I don't know, it's some sort of, I call it a midlife crisis, but I was only 23, so it must have been a pre-midlife crisis.
You're due for another one then.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking to myself at that point, is this it? Is this going to be me for the next X amount of years? And I came to a decision at that point that, I had to really scrutinize and ask myself some quite complex questions about life and what I wanted out of it. And I couldn't figure out what I wanted, but I knew what I didn't want, and I didn't want to continue with my life. So basically what I did from that point, I went in the next day after I'd had this epiphany, I suppose, went in the next day, quit my job, put my house on the market the same week, and within 3 months I had a one-way ticket to Egypt, not really knowing what I was going to do there, or, whether I was going to go back. I just didn't know what I was doing. I was one of these people who always planned for the future constantly. I was, always planning and thinking to myself and, being so sensible and all the time. It was really getting quite boring. So I did this very impromptu kind of life change. And that's what led me to starting my own company, because once I got out to Egypt, I swiftly realized that I didn't want to ever return back to my old life. I was enjoying myself too much. And that's when I started my business, Virtual Miss Friday. I started researching things online of what I could do on the internet, because I wanted to continue to travel. Living in Egypt, I was there for nearly 2.5 years. So living there really opened my eyes it opened a whole new world for me, and it changed me as a person. And that's when, I kind of realized I didn't want to go back. I wanted to continue traveling. I wanted a freedom kind of lifestyle where I could live and work from anywhere. Some people know it as location independence. That's when I started my business. I started researching online, found something that I could potentially do online, and then basically made it happen from there.
That's incredible story, and I want to know more details, because at 23, having the bravery to be able to go, and especially if you're coming from a very pragmatic planning background, to say that is it. What's in your DNA prior to the age of 23 that's given you that ability?
Actually, I don't know really. I mean, I've always been very independent. I left school and home at 16, against everybody telling me that I shouldn't really be doing that. And
we both have that in common.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So you know what it's like. You're a teenager. Exactly. And you think that you can go out and you can own the world and you can
conquer the world.
Yes, that was me. I was like, I don't need anyone to take care of me. I can be independent. I can do my own thing. I want to go out. I want to earn money. I want to live on my own. So that was
I'll
me.
show them.
Absolutely. I left the front door. I turned around. I said to my mum, "Bye, Mum." And she said, "You'll be back within 6 months." And I said, "I don't think so." And I never went back. So yeah, that was it. And I started working. I had multiple jobs. I was moving around, living in different places, renting rooms, things I could find in the newspaper, that type of thing. I was looking for something that I wanted to do, because at 16, everyone's pressuring you into going into your career and choosing your career, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I figured to myself, I'll take a few jobs and see what I like. So I had jobs in hotels, hospitals, offices, you name it. Anyway, I landed a job in a bank when I was 18, and I started getting into banking and finance, and that's basically what I was doing up until the age of 23. But at 18, I was very hungry to progress and hungry to learn, and I think that's where my kind of finickiness about money came in. I bought and sold 5 properties before I turned 23, just working my way up the ranks, working through the bank. So I think because I'd already done so much between the age of 16 and 23, most people at 23 are just getting started, whereas you and I both know that if you start at 16, you already feel like you've come so far by the time you get to 23.
You've lived a lifetime in comparison to your compatriots, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I felt to myself, wow, look what I've done. I've done this, I've had these jobs, I'm earning a good living, I've got a house. It's almost like I knew everything before my time,
And that hunger, has that ever waned? Have you ever sat back and looked back over the years since and gone, oh, I'm satisfied now? Or do you maintain that drive and that sense of, I've still got to conquer?
Yeah.
I'm never satisfied. I need to keep moving.
I always have that. And then it lasts for about 4 weeks. And then I'm like, okay, what do I do next? I'm bored now. So, it was good for a period of time. I mean, when I left the UK at 23, I was starting my business. I'd never owned my own business before. So I was learning all that. And also what I was getting into at the time was not banking and finance. It was online services, supporting businesses online. So I had a hell of a lot of learning to do. So that time that I was in Egypt, it was a fairly low cost of living, which allowed me to sort of learn. I spent 14, 16 hours a day on the internet, just research, and then basically what came out of it was this ability to be able to do what I love to do, which I discovered I love to do it after I left the UK, which is travel. So at that point in time, I was thinking to myself, okay, yeah, this is fine. I can go along. I can earn a decent income for myself. I can travel, I can live wherever I want, and life is good. I don't need to earn a great deal of money. But then while I was in Egypt, I met my husband, who was from California and pretty much doing the same thing that I was, just kind of drifting around the world. And
surfboard in hand, not in Egypt.
No surfboards in Egypt. But so we just kind of met, and we discovered that we had a lot in common, and we decided that we were going to start traveling together. But shortly after we met, it was a whirlwind romance. We're still together, by the way.
That's great.
We're married, yeah. And we had my son, and then 6 months later I became pregnant again with my daughter. So now I have 2 children. So what went from a very kind of casual, I don't need to earn a lot of money type thing, turned into, we don't want to give up our lifestyle, but we have to somehow make it work now with 2 children, and children are expensive, and traveling with children is expensive. Yes. So I do now constantly have that thing inside of me where I want to push on. I want to see how far I can take things. Yeah, I'm ambitious, but I think I'm more ambitious than I was before now because I've got kids and because I have to sustain a family.
Yeah, so that balance of responsibility now for the young ones, alongside your entrepreneurial drive, is a potent mix.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, then, where have you got your inspiration from along the way? Have there been particular people, and has there been some specific advice that you were given that you never forgot in your journey? Yeah,
well, actually, I've always been very inspired by online entrepreneurs because at the end of the day, virtual assistants, which is, technically what I do, it's not considered entrepreneurial. Usually it's the entrepreneurs who are hiring the virtual assistants. So for me, I wanted to take it to another level. I was doing virtual assistants, but I was also very entrepreneurial. So I wanted to develop and nurture this kind of business, but I was also not looking to people in my field for inspiration, because really there wasn't anybody, and especially back at that time, it was nobody really heard of virtual assistants, and it was all very new and nobody trusted it really, I suppose. Now it's amazing and incredible, and everyone knows about it, but back then it wasn't. So I started looking online for entrepreneurs that I could look up to, people who were doing business online but not necessarily in the field that I was in. Gary Vaynerchuk is somebody who has always stood out to me. I absolutely find him a complete inspiration. I mean, he's only a few years older than me. He himself has got a family. He built his business up from, nothing. As a child, he was doing all these, kind of crazy entrepreneurial things. And I just kind of related to him as a person and as an entrepreneur as well. So I find that I turn to people who inspire me, more of a motivational kind of thing, as opposed to who inspires me in business. It's more who motivates me and keeps me going. And certainly Gary Vaynerchuk is somebody who's done that for me. He's just amazing. Another guy who is, again, amazing, but more on the business side of things and how I wanted to run my business, is Seth Godin. And I've read his books. I follow him online. I think he's kind of quirky, but he has a brilliant mind. And again, those two guys have been a very heavy influence in my business and how I run my business and how I've developed my business. And you asked about a piece of advice, and I was told this piece of advice. It didn't come from Gary or Seth, but it's something that I've kept with me always, and I truly believe this is the secret to success. The success behind my company anyway, or my business. It's the golden rule to happiness. And the golden rule to happiness is three things. First of all, you must find something that's useful for others. So always do something in every detail of your life that is useful for other people, that is enjoyable to yourself personally, and that you get personal fulfillment out of, which is also profitable. So if it's useful to others, if you enjoy it personally and it's profitable, then you absolutely must go with it, even if it's crazy, even if it's insane, just go with it. And that's my golden rule to happiness, and I follow it in everything. In everything I do in my business. I
think it's, I was going to say, that's a great principle for life, isn't it? I love the order that you said those in, because that natural progression of being useful for others, solving a pain problem for somebody else, and doing something that you're solving a problem for others, being useful for others that you enjoy doing. I think the natural progression is that it becomes profitable.
Yes.
And the profitability isn't always necessarily numeric and monetary.
Exactly.
And when we apply that profitability as in, my self-fulfillment, my self-worth, and financially it's profitable, I think we can walk away with a smile. Well, we can go to bed with a smile on our face most nights.
Definitely. And it's just, it's a guideline that I use always in everything I do. And it's like you say, profit doesn't come just from money. It's not numerical. It can come from anywhere in life. And I'm a strong believer in karma as well. So I give a lot and I receive a lot, and, I kind of roll along like that. And it works for me. So the golden rule to happiness.
That's awesome. Great advice. And like you said, karma, or the law of reciprocity, is exactly how the web works. Yes. The whole idea of collaboration and giving away your intellectual property, giving away what you might feel is your competitive advantage. It's the only way that you actually can get an audience online, because people are looking to have their information need met. They want to work with the subject matter experts. They're wanting to do the research, and the only way to attract people to what you do is by giving.
Definitely. In fact, it reminds me of a conversation I had with a client. It wasn't too long ago. We were talking about, successful people. And he basically said to me, there's two types of people. And we were talking about actually why he chose me as a VA, or my company as to help him, as opposed to another VA who he was thinking about, who was local.
And just to point out, VA is a virtual assistant, for those who are wondering.
Yes, sorry. Virtual assistant. So he had somebody local. He was thinking of, he basically said to me, there is just no way that I would ever hire anybody completely off the internet who I'd never met before until I came across you. I was like, thank you very much. And we were having a conversation about business and successful people. He basically said, there's protection and there's abundance. And basically the people who protect and constantly want to protect everything that they're doing, they don't want to reveal anything to the world. There's those kinds of people who generally don't become successful, but the people who choose abundance are the people who give as much as they can and tell people, pass on their expertise and help other people. Those are the people that become successful. It's not all about, protecting what you know. It's about sharing it and, hopefully good things will come back to you.
Yeah, and I see that's the way that most successful startups operate in the internet space. That's for sure. It's those that are giving away and they're going back to being useful for others. That they enjoy solving those pain points and creating something that's useful for others. They're the ones that become profitable through whether it's somebody on Twitter gaining more followers, whether it's somebody's email newsletter list subscription exploding because their content is awesome, whether it's people signing up and paying for a product that's useful. It's giving away. It's just giving away. You get that return on your investment. Definitely.
And again, somebody else who I follow online is Yaro Starak, and I always remember him saying in one of his articles or his blog posts, always give away for free your best content.
I think it's great advice, and it's counterintuitive. A lot of people, and particularly I think in traditional industries where protectionism and nepotism and, let's use the word, old boys club, which protects and keeps secret, they're finding this whole new way of doing business kind of scary. There's that sense of I'm losing control and I need that control to make sure that the profit flows. Well, we're proving time and time again that is just not the case in this new economy on the web.
It's old-fashioned, extremely old-fashioned, and anybody who continues with that mindset is going to find themselves, falling behind considerably.
Absolutely. Well, we're seeing just little upstarts coming along and changing the way that people do business, from blockbusters to Netflix and those sorts of changes in the industry. We're in this amazing time, and to be so connected as well, enabling you to be able to travel and build this business is, I get goosebumps talking to people like you, Michelle. It's really inspiring. Well, let's talk about then how Virtual Miss Friday has progressed over the last couple of years and where you're taking the business in the future.
Okay. It's exciting times, actually. I mean, over the last couple of years, it's been really interesting because I started off solo, so it was just me. I was on my own. And then I sort of got into the family way, and I was thinking to myself at that time, there's just no way I can do this all myself and provide an income for the family. So that's when I started looking at ways of expanding the business, and I started hiring subcontractors or team members, and that's when I started bringing in other people into the company, and I quickly started earning six figures. As time went on, it just built up and up, and now I'm very fortunate to have a multi-six figure company. And I work with people on 6 out of 7 continents. Never met a client before, ever. And I've only met 2 of my team members once on a Christmas outing we went to on my holiday back to the UK. So it's very interesting for me because I don't really know physically anybody that I work with, but I know them online and I know them from speaking to them. So basically a couple of years ago in 2010, I've been doing my business, working in my business since 2005. I was sitting there with my husband and I was like, this is really cool. What we do is amazing. I said, how many people do you know would love to be able to just quit their job and start traveling and take their business with them and their income with them? And at that point in 2010, I started creating training programs, and I started blogging as well about my life. A lot of my clients never knew that I wasn't in the UK. They just kind of assumed I was. So I started then creating training programs for people how to set up this kind of business. I was passing on my whole business model, and those programs are still going strong. So I've got 4 programs now. It's called a VA roadmap, starting from solo going right through to building a multi-six-figure company. And I've got another program coming out, which I'm developing with a business coach, which is coming out next month. So that's one project I've got in the pipeline. But as for Virtual Miss Friday, we're constantly expanding and changing. This year has been mega because of the whole SEO, Google, Panda and Penguin thing, and SEO services was one of my top my top services. And, that's been a real pain. So we're shifting more into, and we're still doing search engine optimization, but we're shifting more into social media marketing, that type of thing. But my primary vision for this company is that anybody can come to my company and get all of their staffing requirements that they would normally get in a physical office. It's a goal, a vision for me to get all my clients paperless, get all my clients, working in the cloud. And Business Catalyst has been instrumental in for me to be able to do that. I discovered it back in 2008, and obviously I've seen it grow and evolve since it was just Business Catalyst to Adobe Business Catalyst. So it's been pretty amazing. So tools like this and systems, and I'm just constantly on the lookout for new ones that can help me and help me support my clients. So I'm going to keep helping other people set up their businesses, and I'm going to keep working with clients and expanding the company, and I'm just going to see how far I can push it.
That's awesome. Your feedback to us too is going to be invaluable with the future roadmap, especially on the business end of the Business Catalyst functionality. I know we're very tight on the design side, and with the integration with Dreamweaver, that's great. But I think getting down and knuckling down on some of the business owner workflows and getting feedback from you and your clients around that is going to be really useful for us in the future. So we'll talk more offline on that.
Definitely.
I think finding a partner and having that 1 + 1 = 10. I'm a firm believer in exponential growth when you have the right partner. It's not the linear 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 10. How do you go about then finding the right people that you can complement your business with?
Okay, this is a little trickier. It's more difficult, and I found myself, I had to learn a lot, and I had to fail a lot, and hire the wrong people to really learn what I needed to do. But in terms of hiring staff virtually, basically what I do now is I promote from within. And I have 3 managers now, and I basically tell them to go out and find people who they think would be good. It took me a long time to train these people and get them up to where I would like them to be. They're all amazing. They've been with me for years. And basically they now have their teams. So there's me at the kind of top of the tree, then my 3 managers underneath me, and then they each have their different teams for their different departments. There's one for admin and social media, another one for content and SEO, another one for creative and technical development. And when we have a need for somebody to come in, I basically say to them, do you know anybody? And, it's a word of mouth kind of thing now. If I need someone specialist, there are companies that you can go to who offer services where they help you find people for a fee. And I've used the services of these companies a couple of times. And basically we take it from there. So I allow my team to choose the people that they want to work with. And I know that all my managers in particular have a similar work ethic to me, and I look more for the work ethic than I do for the skill. And if somebody has a work ethic, they have the characteristics, they have the right attitude, I'm more inclined to bring them in and then train them myself, or have my managers train them into the kind of skill that we need. With technical development, it's a little bit different, but it's basically letting my team decide who they want to work with, and that kind of really works for me. I mean, obviously I do interviews, I go through a process where I, talk to them and decide and things, but yeah, that's really what has worked for me, allowing the team to choose each other.
And I guess being virtual and all of this is taking place online, you don't have that dynamic of a face-to-face reading body language type of interview process either. So that adds a different challenge to the whole interview process.
It does. And, it depends really where they're located as well. Basically, I have a lot of my staff in the UK, but they're sort of spread out. Some are in America and across the world. But basically, if my managers are in the UK, 2 of my managers are in the UK, So basically they'll meet up and they'll say, do you know anyone? And they'll say, well, I've got a friend and she's been doing this, that and the other. And a lot of the time when you approach somebody, or if, you know somebody and you approach them and you say, have you ever considered doing this type of work online? Like, they have the skills offline, but never even considered that they could move it online and work online and have that freedom, not have to do the commute and not have to, be stuck in one place. And basically as well, in terms of holidays, days off, when you're working virtually, it's no problem. We always cover each other, and it's not a structure that you would find in any kind of corporate company. It's completely different, and it takes a lot of getting used to, and I'm sure it would take a lot of people to wrap their mind around it, but it really, really works.
Well, it sounds like you've definitely got the experience over all these years and gone through the heartache and pain. And as you said before, there's times where you do fail, but you just keep going and you learn from that, and that helps refine your processes.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Just by introducing these people offline to working online, they're like, introduced to a whole new world and a better world, and particularly for females who have family and they're trying to balance work and family, and they don't want to have to ask their boss if they can take the afternoon off so they can go and pick their kid up from school who's sick or something like that. It's much more flexible. Basically, I work to timescales and deadlines as opposed to you've got to be sat here from 9 to 5. It's all down to trusting people, trusting that they're going to respect you and respect their work, and basically say that this is the deadline, and they'll get it done. And it's an amazing feeling, or team atmosphere. It's just not conventional.
Yeah, I think it's amazing what you've done, and hats off to you, absolutely. I think everybody listening can hear just how passionate, and I'm awestruck by what you've done at such a young age, working through, and I know how hard it is. I know how hard, separately from the gender discussion, it's hard enough to do it without having kids, but to also balance it and a growing family at the same time is superhero status. Absolutely. I think it's just a testament of what can be done when you have the drive, the passion, and the right outlook, wanting to help others, enjoying what you're doing, and then everything comes back around. Protection versus abundance. I love those little gems that you've left with us as well. As we close off, Michelle, what would be a parting piece of advice that you'd like to give all of these Business Catalyst partners that are listening in?
Okay, a parting piece of advice is that life is unpredictable, and even if you try to predict it and plan it as much as you want, I think that sometimes you just have to take a risk, you have to take a leap, and you have to go with your instinct. And I think, basically since I was 23, I've been living on instinct always, and it's worked out for me. And even when you come across tough times and you think to yourself, crikey, I'm in the middle of a foreign country, and with 2 kids, and what am I doing here? It's just, you gotta live on your instincts, and you gotta trust your gut, because if anything is going to hold you back, it's not trusting your instincts.
Awesome advice. And for anybody thinking that you don't have instinct, I can guarantee you do. You just might not have given it a chance to be nurtured. So get out of your comfort zone. Absolutely. Get out of your comfort zone. That's what I did, and I never looked back. Awesome. Well, Michelle, absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's quite late in your evening over there in whichever country you happen to be. I think it's in Greece. Yeah, I'm in Crete at the moment. And, well, I'm sitting here in an office with concrete walls talking to you from San Francisco. Thanks very much. Hopefully we will get to meet at some point. I'll be heading over that way, I'm sure, for some Business Catalyst event. And great advice you've been able to share with us all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adam. Okay, thanks, Michelle. Bye. Thank you.